What's up, Mahomes? Whoa. Pregnant pause. Holy cow. What am I about to hear?
Oh my goodness. No, I'm really stoked. Hey, tomorrow night we're having you and Jana over.
That's right. Yeah, I can't. What are you going to feed us?
We're doing
Are you
we're
doing
doing
like
like
some?
tacos.
Oh, I'm, you had me
Doing
at
some flank steak.
tacos, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had me at tacos.
Fire up the sauna too if
I'm
you guys are
down.
game.
I'm
Yeah.
down. The only thing I will be a little embarrassed about is the gut that's sitting over the old belt loop.
Well,
And that's where we're going today.
you can wear one of my wife's robes or something if you want.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Kara, do you mind if I?
Suggest that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little self-conscious right now, so
Yeah.
if you can.
No problem.
Dude, I want to journey down a little lane here. I've been chewing on this for a while,
Hmm.
and we're gonna get transparent. Um, I have I've been geeking out on some podcasts. Sean Ryan is a show I just freaking love. Anyways,
Same.
the guy brings in real hitters. I mean, these are
Well, these are actual hitters.
literally these are the men and women that in governmental, professional, military, paramilitary roles are just unbelievable. They've done some unbelievable things and they've passed through unbelievably hard times and experiences. And many of them are the kind of people that when you hear their story, it shapes you, it influences you, and how you consider your own world and your own life. And I have an affinity for it because I have a ton of admiration and respect for the military. Not just because I had a short stint with the military, but it's meaningful to me. You and I have the honor and the opportunity to own companies, and we do that partially because of the freedoms that we have in the United States to be business owners and entrepreneurs and free thinkers. And I know for certain that that has never come without a price.
Yeah.
And so I just have a lot of admiration for military and first responders alike. Honestly, I've got family that are blue bloods, and they are part of the police, different police forces. And anyways, I just when men and women sacrifice and do hard things, it's hard not to stop and pay attention. So I've been watching a lot of the Sean Ryan show recently, and just kind of covering the gambit with all these amazing men and women. And for the first time in a long minute, and if you guys have listened to our show for some time, you can hear these moments where Chris and I in our own bullshit, have some moments of time where life's a little bit harder than we want it to be or whatever. And the last 3 months, I've been kind of whining a lot more than I would like to admit. And for the first time in a long time, I've felt like a straight up victim to circumstance. There's just certain injuries and certain things that I've been experienced that has taken my ability to control my physical fitness and some of my own health concerns. And I'm facing the challenges of that I've also been wrestling with midlife and wrestling with the fact that, dude, I'm just fucking sorry, excuse the French, I'm getting older. And as you get older, there's a lot more things working against you than working for you. And dude, it got in my head. Like I had a couple moments over the last couple months where it just got a little deep. It was just
Mm.
really bothering me. And I had several scenarios where like dude, this sounds crazy, but not even that long ago, we're talking probably the last couple weeks. I had a night I couldn't sleep. I was just literally I don't sleep often, but this was bad. Like straight up eyes open, staring at the ceiling. And I literally had to like reach out and I needed, man, I get a little emotional actually. I needed my wife to comfort me.
Mm.
I'm a 200-pound dude that normally is working out, that fires guns, that drives trucks. Like I do all the things. Like I'm independent. I like to hunt. Like I have all these things in my favor.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want more control over my environment than I should actually let on or admit that I want. But anyways, my point being is I had this moment. I was like, dude, I was like full blown compromised. I needed this woman in my life to tell me it's okay.
Yeah.
And man, I'm like, what the fudge is like? How am I in this place? Like,
Mm.
what's been going on? And you know what? For me, and I want to be clear as I get into this, is that there's a difference between being a victim of your circumstance and your thoughts versus someone who is truly a victim to a scenario.
Mm.
Okay. And I want to differentiate there because um, people experience horrific things that are not their fault. That's a real victim.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about here. So, anyways, my point is I had been becoming really prey to this victimhood, and I was allowing that to bleed in to my self dialogue. And it kind of started out with things like, I would if I could. Well, I wanted to work out, but and it's this little worm
Mm,
that begins to make its way into your self-talk,
mm,
into your brain, where it just erodes a little bit more each day your ability to be responsible
mm.
for what you're experiencing. And I think we've talked about this in several different formats before, but it's this idea that as soon as we begin to remove our own responsibility from a situation, we essentially neuter ourselves. We remove our ability to take any kind of proactive action, make decisions, do certain things to have an influence on what's going on around us. And eventually you actually just completely succumb to the fact that you're a victim and there's not shit you can do about it. And I was like, it's been a long time, dude. Like, I'm mentally fairly tough. Like, I've been around the block and I found myself slipping into this. Okay. So here's where I'm going with this. In turn, then, so this is my personal experience that's going on in the sidelines behind the scenes. Although at work, we're progressing, we're making, in fact, there's great freaking things going on with the
Have you
company, right?
shared just a little context? Because I think a lot of people would probably relate
Um,
to your injury. Like,
oh, yeah. So so basically, like I'm a ex paratrooper, and I just got banged up back in the day, and so my joints, my knees, my ankles, and my lower back are pretty much toast. And as I get older, there's just more and more things that you have to do to aggressively stay in front of some of the deterioration that just happens in your joints when you beat them up. And some people listening were in active in sports, football, maybe military, or just the work we do. A lot of us that are in the trades and contracting, like you break your own body down,
yeah.
and so we eventually begin to pay the consequences for that. Your body keeps a score. And so as I've gotten older, the disc issues that I'm having have progressively gotten worse. 12 years ago, I had a full blowout in one of my discs. I had to have surgery, no fusion. And then recently I just had another massive bulge and it came out and pushed very hard on one of my sciatic nerves. And it just took me down, dude. I went from ordering a bunch of new personal gym equipment because I was getting ready to take it up to the next level this year. And literally, I was moving an item that had gotten shipped to me. I wasn't working out. I picked up one of the items I ordered.
I mean, in all fairness, it was a rather manly moment because this wasn't like you were picking up the garbage can.
Well,
You were
no,
picking up a 70-pound
it
dumbbell.
was a
So to your credit, bro, I think it's worth mentioning that
it,
detail.
it was a 70-pound dumbbell, but I literally just picked it up. I actually lifted it the correct way. I squatted down,
Yeah.
got low, picked it up, and then when I went to set it down, something clicked and I got the warning sign in the back of my head and it was one of those slow release things because that thing must have just been kind of like swelling up and pushing more and more pressure on my nerve. Well, by the next morning I ended up having to go to ER.
Yeah.
So that night I was like, "Ooh, this is not good." But because that's a weakness in me, I've had back injuries before that you just eventually you just get through it. You're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, the pain was stupid. I had to go to the ER, went back several times, and now I'm on a recovery program, and I've been doing some research and soliciting some support on how to get back in action. I want to take control of this. I don't want to just sit around for
How
the
to
next several
rebuild
months.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been this cycle for context, and I hope some of you are hanging in on this, and we're not wasting a bunch of time here. But so what happened was, is I went through this phase where I'm a victim of circumstance. I'm struggling with these things I can't actually control. I'm like bona fide injured. Um, that was on the back of getting really sick late in the year. Like I just have all these things that it like keep slowing me down and making me feel like I'm almost 50. And now I'm just now coming out on the other side of getting some hope back. I now have some things that I can control, that I can put my hands on, that I can start to do to put me back into a not just recovery, but getting back into a position where I'm where I'm at and better. And so finally my brain is in a much better spot because I see hope and I'm not a victim.
Mm.
As I've been going through this process, I've been grinding on these Sean Ryan shows. And recently there's a young man. He was a MARSOC guy, so Marine. He was a Raider, Force Recon, and then eventually became part of MARSOC, which is their special operations group, not SEALs, kind of a counterpart. Long story short, just a young man. He was the youngest E8 in the Corps. At 2 record, he's still the youngest man to put on E8 rank in the entire Corps, let alone MARSOC. Um, and he's just telling his story of his military career and how the age thing got held against him. So even though he was controlling his performance and earning accolades and checking the appropriate boxes and going through all these what they call pain gates. So in any kind of military environment, special operations environment, there's all these pain gates that are used to filter out the chaff and only leave the cream of the crop, right? And he's crushing all of this, but then he has things that are happening in his chain of command where his age is getting held against him. Or he's getting, for lack of a better way to describe it, grounded when he could be operating. Anyways, long story short, guys, here's where I'm going. I think, and maybe this is me, but it is so easy for us as leaders, business owners, individuals to find ourselves becoming a victim to our circumstance. And I've just been thinking about all the different ways that this sounds in our business. If only I could find good people. If only people cared about the business as much as I do. If only my leaders gave me the training and the support that I needed. If only I had the right swag to go out and represent the company. If only we had the right equipment. If only once so and so does their job, I'm going to be able to do my job. I would love to perform at that level, but I'm always waiting on a project manager to do X, right? Or, well, I would like to help you with that, but subs have been hard to find this year. There are all these worms that we begin to say, and I think they start as a thought. And then the thought moves to something that we verbalize. And then we give ourselves permission to repeat that message. And the next thing you know it, I have literally stripped myself from the motivation and the optimism that anything I will do will change the outcome. And man, once you cross over that threshold, the misery that follows suit is unbelievable.
It's a deep, never-ending hole.
It's scary as hell because you've neutered yourself.
Yeah.
You have no dog in the fight anymore. And so what starts out as a realistic challenge in the moment of, yes, there are things in our environment that are going to play against us.
Yeah.
And there are circumstances that you will face in those moments of trial and error and problem. But when you begin to feed the victim monster and you allow your dialogue and your thoughts and your behaviors to begin aligning around this idea that you are a victim to what's happening around you, it's a scary place to exist. And what's nuts to me is I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate because I have a great family that we are very consistent in talking about what it looks like to be a victim to circumstance and how we don't want to live in that state. I'm fortunate to have a business partner that I can have open dialogue around and surround myself with people that care about me that will challenge me if and when I begin to act that way. We are fortunate, Chris. You and I live in a place, clients, friendships, relationships that make it harder for you and I to slip into this state.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. Yeah.
Been very fortunate. But for many of us, man, there's nobody in our corner that pulls us out of this. And I think just one of these things I became just acutely aware of over the last probably quarter is, man, if it's this easy for me to slip into this space where it's just all of a sudden I'm waking up and I'm like, this is some dark shit, man. Then I'm just thinking around to all those entrepreneurs, all those business leaders out there, all these people on our teams that no one's in their corner. Yeah. No one's talking about this. They're not listening to podcasts where people are telling their story and talking about the hard things they had to transition through. And that means that a lot of people are faced kind of buying into these earworms that they've allowed, and they really are a victim of their circumstance. And I think what's scary about that is when you really are a victim, like you feel helpless, that in and of itself is just such a dark space to live in.
Yeah.
And I think that to kind of pull out of this a little bit, I think one of the things I was just very blindsided about was how common this is, how easy it is, no matter what kind of lifestyle or sphere of influence that you hold. Like this is a tough thing to combat. And I'm wondering how seriously all of us really consider this topic and how as leaders inside our organizations, are we paying attention to our people and are we doing anything to talk about what it means to not allow ourselves to become victims of circumstance and to remain empowered, to have influence and pushback and a voice and to have control over our own performance, even when it doesn't feel the way we want it to. At the end of the day, we all have a lot of control over our own performance, regardless of where we sit in the food chain. Anyways, this is just
Yeah.
where my head's been, brother.
It's good. Yeah. Yeah, I have my own stuff. I think all of us have these repetitive negative thoughts that
Mm,
if we hang in them, they start to create hopelessness
mm,
where we start to relinquish control and our agency.
mm,
And I don't I think the only thing is kind of what you talked about, which is recognizing it and then I think refocusing on what do I actually have control over,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is what I see you doing. And I think it's the only I think it's the only real solution,
yeah,
right? It's just recognizing that my mind, for whatever reason, our minds, and I think is because they're tuned to danger,
mm-hmm,
right? We've evolved to sort of spot something that feels very dangerous and scary, and to hyperfixate on it, and
mm-hmm,
to tune all of our senses to that thing.
yeah,
And it's that nature, and I think also our egos with social media, we're constantly drawing this parallel between what we're seeing in social media amongst our friends, our quote friends, our acquaintances, and how good their life is,
mm-hmm,
apparently, and how terrible our life feels
yeah,
in the moment,
yeah,
in the dark corners of our mind where we have these repetitive, stressful, negative thoughts. We're comparing that existence
mm,
with the image of our friends, fellow business owner buddies, and the images that they're presenting to us,
yeah, yeah,
right? The fancy truck that pulls up in front of the building that the owner drives, or the shiny red Corvette that the owner drives, that what they're presenting to us seems beautiful and awesome and all the things. And we're comparing that to what's happening in our inner mind.
yeah.
And it just gets worse
It gets
and
worse.
worse and worse.
Yeah,
And I think all of us are plagued by that at times. And I like your story, these thoughts, it brings up, okay, what are those repetitive negative thoughts that cycle in my mind? And, I think the only antidote that I've found, apart from really investing in great friendships that I can be honest with and
yeah,
share those thoughts with, when I get them outside of my head, I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
incredibly powerful.
It is. Yeah, it's like turning the light on in the closet a little bit,
When
right?
you say those thoughts out loud, even sometimes just to yourself,
Yeah,
you can start to create some margin between you and those thoughts, and you can look at them. And like I've said this before, but this one coach, it was just transformational for me when I was really frustrated and pissed off about a certain thing. Again, just a repetitive, negative, stressful thought. And he's like, "Whoa, dude, that's not you. Like, part of you is having that thought. There's a part of your brain that's just
mm,
going off on this thing.
yeah,
But where are you at?"
yep,
And I'd never given that consideration of my thoughts are not me.
yeah,
Like, the Buddhists talk a lot about this, but you don't have to be Buddhist to get to understand it. I think all of us can understand that.
yeah.
you know?
Well, I think one of the things that you're saying too, and this has kind of been the heartbeat behind the show, is we're not alone.
Yeah.
And it's part of your nice commitment. Like we're gonna talk about real shit on the show
Yeah.
because we know we're not alone. And
Yeah.
every time we've taken the time to do that, we get plenty of people that say, you know what, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And one of the stories that I was listening to recently was around an ex DevGru guy, and so he had done his time. He had made his way through SEALs, went to SEAL Team 6, was at the elite of the elite on the SEAL side of things.
Mm.
And one of the things that they learned post several deployments was all the micro traumas from door breaches. So these guys were real warriors; they
Oh
were
yeah.
breaching doors,
CTE from the
and so they just had all these moments where this is a very universal theme, by the way, for warriors, where they have these micro brain traumas from explosions, right? IEDs going off, door breaches, grenades happening at too close proximity, calling in fire, things like that. And what happens is, and we've heard stories like this was a young gentleman that was a very promising team member of an NFL team, ended up committing a couple murders and going to prison.
yeah.
There's this real life stuff that happens when there's too many traumas to the brain, these micro brain traumas, and how it actually ends up changing people's psyche. They go through a mental breakdown that's being driven by trauma to the brain, and they feel very isolated in it because they feel like they're losing their mind.
Yeah.
Personalities change. They become hyper ridden with anxiety,
Yeah.
stress. They can become angry. They can become physical. They can begin to isolate. And one of the things that this guy was talking about is how his entire unit had been experiencing this exposure
Mm.
and how all the guys from the SEAL team came back and they all had the same problem. Let's call it 70% of the
Wow.
guys in this platoon were suffering the same consequences from these micro traumas.
And they were alone in it.
They were all alone.
Yeah.
You're talking about guys sitting on an airplane less
Yeah.
than 2 feet from each other,
Yeah.
and they're literally fighting the same exact demon, and no one will talk about it.
Yep.
Not only no trauma doctors, no medical support, no psych eval officers, no one in the command, no one is saying that you guys are all talking about similar things because nobody's talking to anybody about it.
Yeah.
And so this guy ends up finding out, and you hear this is several hours of storytelling where you hear him come to death's doorstep, meaning wanting to eat his own 45 over and over and over, just on the brink of taking his own life, desperate because he feels so alone and isolated. He's losing his mind,
Mm.
only to find out, dude, that he had 7 or 8 buddies that could have the entire time. They could have been sharing each other's load. They
Yeah.
could have been shouldering the weight of this trauma
Just
and
the
this
words
event.
of I understand.
You know what I've been going through?
Mm.
You know what I've been experiencing? Have you guys? He said there was even times where he was ballsy enough to bring it up, and people like, "No, I'm good." And many of those people, dude, are dead.
Yeah. Killed themselves.
They're dead.
Yeah.
And so it's like I don't. That's not to be all overly dramatic. It's just think about that, and in an environment
Yeah.
where it's almost expected that trauma, mental health, challenges with someone's psyche is expected. These are warriors.
Yeah.
If in that kind of environment where it's expected, meaning this is going to happen to people in this kind of an environment, and yet they can't talk about this shit and find relief, and people are dying because they're in isolation that's self-induced. Again, I'm being a little dramatic here,
Mm.
but just the translation is, guys, we are all human beings.
Yeah.
Our companies are made up of human beings. I am not the only person that had a dark ride the first 3 months of the year, and I have a really fucking good life.
Yeah.
I have a good life.
Yeah.
And it was a dark run the first couple months of this year. And that's while my business is doing great. That's while I have good friendships. It's while my kids are doing well. And I still had this place. It's like, I think I'm just kind of reaching out to the industry right now
Yeah.
and just saying, guys, remember how easy it is for us to fall prey
Yeah.
to thinking that our circumstance is so unique that we are alone and that we are a victim to what's going on around us. And the reality of it is most of the time it's just not true.
Yeah, we've got to somehow learn how to be more transparent and more authentic with each other.
Yeah.
You know, like we love to toss around those things, but I think it's a big part of the antidote because when we feel alone, everything spirals out of
It
control.
totally does. It
Everything,
totally does.
and that's true for marriage. It's one of the reasons why I feel compelled to be on. I mean, people that listen to the podcast for a long time, like I've talked about my wife and I's relationship a number of times because it's just real,
Yeah.
and I'm just convinced that all of us
Yeah.
struggle in
Yep.
different ways, maybe not so different ways.
Yeah.
We all struggle with the same sort of pattern of things,
Yeah.
and I think it's why in general, like our industry tends to be known amongst owners and leaders as being a real anger fueled environment.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not because of what we do necessarily. It's just that that is a really common way that all of us react to pain
Yeah.
and stress and anxiety and fear is we erupt with anger.
Oh man, if I'm sad, I'll get angry. If I'm fearful, I get angry. If I'm angry, I get angry.
But but
You
it
know?
but instead of really like trying to understand what's going on there and to work towards peace inside of our mind, um, we kind of accept it as it's just part of the bravado, part of
Yeah.
the whole get shit done
Yeah.
grind culture of being an entrepreneur in a service industry or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we just suppress it, and then we all hang out, we get together, and we drink until 1 a.m. in the morning at the
Yeah.
conferences, and
Yeah. Tell each other it's all good.
yeah, we just cover it up, and we talk about our trucks, and we talk about how awesome things are, and it's just nobody benefits from that.
No, nobody
But
does.
it's funny when you and I like get on site with our clients and we get into these kind of conversations.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of just become a pattern for us is
Yeah.
getting down into this level of things. 100% of the time, everybody in the circle fails and struggles with the same stuff
Every time.
every single time.
And they always meet us.
Yep,
If if somebody's brassy enough to bring it up,
to open the door,
it does tend to be that people will follow
almost
suit.
100% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm at conferences, I mean, I don't know. I find it's really life giving.
Yeah.
It's actually it's really there's a point where my ego is like, oh no, what if I share this and like everybody
Yeah.
else is like nobody reciprocates,
Yeah.
nobody understands. I'm gonna feel weird. I'm gonna feel small. I'm gonna
Yeah.
feel less than.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel unprofessional. I'm gonna feel all these negative things. But every single time when I open up and I mention some struggle or some recurring imposter syndrome negative thought. Like I was talking with a CEO of a really successful company here the other day, and I asked him, I actually asked him this question. I think I'm going to start asking every person I talk to now, but I just said, "Hey, what has been the most difficult thing that you've had to deal with inside yourself as you've grown as a leader?
Yeah.
What's been the biggest sort of mental or emotional hurdle that you've had to confront and deal with?" And he took the bait and he shared a lot of really personal things. And I was like, and they all resonated with me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you're telling me we're basically the same. We just have different circumstances,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Uh, but it was such a powerful conversation because when we went to that level, another thing happened, right? Is I felt I felt understood by him because I like everything he was saying was resonating with me, and I was able to be like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of this in my life, and yeah, I had this experience too, and so we got to know each other
Yeah.
at a much more authentic level,
Yep.
so much more beyond just the revenue he's doing in his company and
Yeah.
how many people he leads and other investments he's made, and just you get caught up in people's success and you don't realize that while they may have more money, more things, more influence, they still struggle with the same dark
Yeah.
loop.
Yeah.
It may be different, it may be a different thought track, but it's like all of us have that. And the antidote is let's just incorporate that into our relationships with each other. Let's be a little bit more open and transparent
Yeah.
because it totally diffuses. It really helps diffuse the power of those negative thoughts.
I think you're spot on. It kind of reminds me. I went down. I had the opportunity to go down to California and visit with one of our clients down there, and they're these two guys are really dialed in on, like, we talk work and we maximize the time, and they like knowing what's going on with me as an entrepreneur. Like, they just want to talk
Yeah,
shop about business and plans and vision and things that we're investing in and all that kind of stuff. Just friends, right?
yeah,
And I was, as part of that conversation, I was letting out a little bit of some of the stuff I'd been fighting with, and how I was like, right, I was kind of thinking through community and kind of my current circumstances, and I was talking about your group that you've kind of highlighted and began to surround yourself with. And anyways, long story short, this individual just kind of finally challenged me and was like, hey, sounds like you know what you want. Why don't you just go start it?
mm,
And it, kind of, it's good. This is my client challenging me, right? It's great though. Like, this is that iron sharpens iron kind of conversation. And I was like, man, he's right. And it's like going back to kind of like this victim, because these things tie in, right? It's like these victim of circumstances. I think that's part of how you solve this problem. I think
mm,
part of what you try to do to combat these things that are very real, that we're not alone in, is sometimes it's like you have to take things into your own hands. Like, I can continue to sit around that this XYZ group or this thing doesn't exist and I can't find it anywhere. Or I can take action to begin remedying the problem. So in my current moment, am I kind of a victim to what's going on around me? Yeah, because the thing in quotes doesn't exist.
yeah,
But does that mean my hands are tied and I can't do anything to affect change? No, not at all. But what happened, I had to voice it out loud, and I
yeah,
needed somebody in my sphere who can relate to what I'm saying
yeah,
to challenging me in response.
yeah,
Right. And it's like, I think that's what you're saying. I think that's part of what you're alluding to is, I think it's a reminder to all of us. Two things. One, we're as much of a victim of our circumstance as we allow ourselves to be at the end of the day.
yeah,
Like, we can always rethink the situation and reapproach what's going on around us to take more ownership
yeah,
and to change and have effect on the situation. I think too, just like you said, is you have to be brave enough to bring it up and live in some cold faith that when you do, someone was desperately waiting to hear someone else say it first.
yeah, yeah. I think it's this weird yin and yang thing about life. If we're really honest about what we see and what we experience in life, it's like on the one hand, we have far less control
Yeah.
over our
Then we
life
want,
than we
yeah.
think we do.
Yep. Yep.
And then on the other hand, we have far more control
Yep.
over things and our circumstances than we think we do. It's
Yeah.
like it just is.
Yeah.
And all of us are constantly in that. In part of me is just freaking out because of this thing that's happening
Yeah.
that I can't seem to control.
Yeah.
It's having control over me. And then there's this other part of me that can look at that and zoom out a little bit further and be like, oh, but I can control this and I can do something about that.
Yep.
And then we start to regain control over the situation.
That's right.
But, so I had a meeting. I had one more. I just, it's such a great topic, dude, because I think we don't acknowledge just how much of a role what happens between our ears has
Oh,
over everything in our world.
it's
The
unbelievable.
way we treat our people,
Yeah.
the way we
The
attract
self.
talent, the way that our ability to attract talent to our business,
Yeah.
that just the thoughts
Mm-hmm.
create the experience that other people have of us. So I can be thinking certain things about you or my
Yep.
relationship to you or what I think you think of me and all these things. And it is absolutely affecting how you experience me. The body
100% true.
language I put out,
Yeah.
the everything,
Yeah.
right? And we don't do enough to really acknowledge just how much these thoughts are affecting us. I was talking with a really successful sales executive in our industry, and this is a prospect, a client that I'm working with, and working on onboarding. And I shared with you the recording from that first interaction, and you said, "Do you remember what you said? What'd you say? Say what you said."
Well, that there was probably about a 30 or 40 minute counseling session that took place.
Yes. And I said, get over yourself. This is the real work, bro. No. Uh, it was very interesting to me. So the context of it was I was asking them about this extreme level of success that they've had. And like it's just a bonkers business that they've been able to build and yet still have things that they're working on and shoring up and whatever. And I asked them, I said, hey, where did this come from, this level of success? And she said, first of all, she pointed back to a coach
Yeah.
that she had hired.
Yep.
And that coach in the work with her had actually introduced her to a therapist because one of the things that came up was just that there was some things in her past, some experiences that she had had that were affecting how she was thinking about and showing up to moments in her
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. It's huge.
And in the process of connecting with this therapist, and of course, not all therapists are great, but this one was really, really, it was really, really awesome for her because it helped her create a linkage between these thoughts and these behaviors and these reactions she was having in the moment
Yeah.
with these earlier in her childhood kind of experiences, and just her making that mental connection,
Yeah.
being able to see that connection in her mind's eye started to break apart
Yeah.
those
It's good.
repetitive
Yep.
thoughts and those nagging, stressful, and negative thoughts that she was having that was affecting the performance she was bringing to her work. And
Mm.
I don't normally, I mean, it's not often I get into that kind of
Sure.
conversation with a
Yeah.
prospective client,
Hence
but
some of the comment it made.
but I so appreciate it. And you can imagine just the connection that we
Yeah.
were able to make with her sharing that. And I was able to validate that with, hey, some of my own experience of connecting those dots.
That's right.
But there's something so important. You and I 2 years ago we gave a keynote
Yeah.
speech at the Collective by Core on
Yeah.
stage about the heart of the matter and yours and I's experience with our own past traumas, unmet longings, difficult relationship with parents and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and how we've seen that show up in our leadership,
Yeah. Right.
how we've seen that take away from our leadership or suck us into this victim mentality,
Yeah. Yep.
And there's just something so powerful of being able to visualize and connect in your own life. Like what are these outward behaviors that I routinely go to? What are they tied to down below the surface of the water? Like
Mm-hmm.
what are those things anchored to? And there's just something about knowing
Yeah.
that seems to be important in our psyche that once we see something clearly, we can't unsee it.
Yep. It's
And
like
and it,
that's the path
that's the
begins
thing
to,
that breaks the
yeah,
pattern,
that's it. Yeah.
and it isn't
Yeah.
always overnight for people. And a lot of times it's like kind of peeling the layers off of an onion
Yeah.
until you get to the core, to the seed, and you're like, oh. And then for other people, it's like they have one counseling session where that's the aha moment.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden when they go to react or respond to the next situation, there's a new hook there where it's
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
what well, I'm having this really visceral response. What's that about? And they're able to change the way they,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
It's good stuff, dude.
It is. I think it's worth talking about. I know sometimes when we think about being, whatever, a business podcast for whatever that
I want to
means,
do a marriage podcast. I think we should get our wives in here.
maybe we should. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. I think the hard thing would be to just shut up and let them talk because they're the ones that probably have all the good advice.
The hard thing would be getting my wife to do it because the
Yeah,
last thing she wants to do is tell the entire world about our marriage. But
and
anyway,
shoot a handgun, obviously.
and
Well,
and
in
shoot a
case
handgun.
you've chained a couple episodes together.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that was good. You guys, for those of you that stuck around the whole show, I sure appreciate being able to voice that stuff out loud. I think for me, it's an example of me putting the actions in that I know are valuable,
Yeah.
that it's worth us saying the things that we are experiencing because we often find out, no, we're not alone, not even kind of.
And some of you may be asking, what in the world does any of this have to do with business consulting?
I think
That's a fair
everything.
question. That's
Yeah,
a fair question.
yeah,
I actually though, dude, I sometimes I get a little self conscious about this when we have these kind of shows because it's
sure.
like, okay, we're not getting in the nuts and bolts about business best
Yeah.
practices. We're not um, quoting some business book that we've been working our way through. But
Mm,
I think this is part of what makes what we've built and what
mhm.
the team at Floodlight is building. I think it's part of what makes us
I
different.
agree. Yeah,
I really that we do aspire to have this full spectrum relationship with our
that's
clients.
right.
And like this executive I was talking to yesterday, one of the things that she said to me was she's like, it was in that experience with the therapist and this coach that I'd hired where I just came to terms with there is no such thing as my personal life and
Yeah,
my professional
that's
life.
it.
Like I carry my whole person into all of these interactions,
Yeah,
and the more I try to separate, like, well, this is just business, or I'll save and deal with that when I get home. Like the more stressed out and anxious I feel, and I think we're all just people.
yeah,
And if we have shit we're dealing with, we're going to bring that shit to everything
everything.
we do.
Yeah, it's what's always in the baggage,
If
right?
if you go home at night and you visit your two fingers of scotch to close out the day, and you've got this reel of negative, stressful, self-critical, self-loathing, fearful thoughts, um, there's no question you're bringing that to everything that happened
Yeah,
earlier in the day, whether you realize it or not. And I just think it's an aspect of improving your business is starting to improve your awareness of yourself
yeah.
and what's happening inside. And that doesn't mean that our consultants or our counselors,
No.
it doesn't
Yeah,
mean we're going to get
clearly.
into we're going to put you back on the couch and start
We're
asking
not
you
doing
about
free fall.
your inner traumas, but it just means that I think we at Floodlight we bring an awareness
Yeah,
that the things that we are dealing with personally and the personal life that we have
mhm,
is inextricably connected to the type of business we're building and the type of
that's right.
leader that we are being.
Yeah,
And I think it's just that awareness that helps us take a more holistic approach that
yeah.
I think seems to bear fruit. So
I just don't think you can ignore
you can't.
one and assume the rest all works out.
Yeah, you
It
can't.
just doesn't work that way.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thanks
Till
for
next
hanging
time.
out with us. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see you.